Hey guys, welcome back.
We're continuing spooky vibes. We're doing true crime, so it's even spookier because it's real.
I like this genre.
Without any
Also,
further ado,
I don't know if you guys have been noticing like the matching outfits, the matching vibes. I love it. I love matching everything. Everything.
we're coming right for you guys every single week. Just gotta watch.
This 19-year-old girl was found in literal pieces scattered around her town, and all she did was say yes to a date. Her name was Sade Robinson. She was living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and just trying to navigate dating like any other teenager. And one day she matches with this demon, and I will not call him a man because men do not do this, but his name is Maxwell Anderson. And he tells Sade that he was around her age, but that was actually a lie because he was 33 years old. And after a few days of texting back and forth, Sade is getting no weird vibes from him. If anything, she's actually really starting to like this guy because he seems normal and sweet. So when he asked her out, she eagerly said yes, because why wouldn't she? She's about to go meet a cute guy her age for dinner. And on April 1st, surveillance footage shows Maxwell and Sade walking into this restaurant called the Twisted Fisherman, and they get seated. And from what everyone can see, things are going really well. She's smiling, chatting, acting very normal. Nothing about her body language suggests that she's worried or getting any bad vibes. In fact, it's going so well, they decided to go grab some drinks at this nearby bar called Duke's on Water, and they stay there for hours just talking and laughing like any normal first date would be. At around 9 p.m., security cameras catch them walking out the bar together, getting into her car. Not his, her car, and that becomes very important later, and then they head towards his apartment. Maxwell lived on the top floor of this duplex, and what happened in that apartment is truly horrifying, and it's something that we'll never fully know, but his phone tells us enough. This man had these disturbing photos of her. One of them was her laying on the couch face down and limp, and he's shirtless, and she is clearly unconscious or worse. And after he was done doing God knows what to her, he waited until the next morning on April 2nd to try and secretly get rid of her body. He dragged her body into her own car and drove all the way to Warnemont Park. Surveillance footage shows the car circling around the same area multiple times, almost as if he was looking for somewhere discreet to get rid of her. And at around 4 a.m., Sade's phone location shows them arriving to another park. Maxwell drags her body out of the car, and for the next 2 hours, he stays there. And that's when he off her leg and threw it somewhere he thought no one was ever going to be able to find. Afterwards, he put the rest of her inside the car and drives to another spot that was really far from the park. My guess is he was trying to make it really difficult to even locate her body if he ever got caught, because if there's no body, then there really isn't a crime. He then drives to multiple spots around town, and from what we know, it was about 4 locations, but it could have been more. And at each location, he just cuts more and more and more of her off until she is completely unrecognizable. At some point, he then drives the car to another sketchy location and sets it on fire. He just walks away thinking he just got away with what he's done, but what he didn't know was that a witness happened to be there and saw this car engulfed in flames. They immediately called the police, explaining that they just saw a man get out of a car, toss a lighter into the front seat, and walk away like he didn't just set a car on fire. They said he was wearing a gray hoodie and a tan backpack, and later that morning, guess who was seen wearing a gray hoodie and a tan backpack? Maxwell Anderson, walking off the bus just a few blocks from his house like it's any other Tuesday. Around the same time, one of Sade's friends starts feeling like something is off. She's contacting Sade, but she's not answering her phone. And even worse, her boss found it very off that she didn't show up for work, because it's not like her to just do a no-show. So now people are really starting to panic, but before anyone could even file a missing persons report, it's already too late, because at 5:30 that evening, someone is walking through Warnemont Park, the same park that Maxwell just took Sade to hours earlier. So they walk closer and closer, and that's when they see it. It's a human leg just floating on the shoreline. I can't imagine just walking and seeing a leg. Like, what do you even do? Police immediately arrived to the scene and sent the leg in for DNA testing, and unfortunately it belonged to Sade Robinson. And because Maxwell was the last person to be seen with her, he was the last person to be driving her car, and now that same car is on fire, police quickly make a prime suspect. And on April 4th, they spot him in his car, they pull him over, and just like that, he's in custody. Inside his car was Sade's clothes and the same tan backpack and hoodie that was reported earlier by the witness. But this was just the beginning, because remember what I told you, the details are disgusting. That same day, police issued a search warrant for his home, and when they go inside, it is extremely clear that something happened here. They found blood on the walls in one of the bedrooms and all along the stairway to the basement. And in that basement, they find a literal dungeon. There were chains, restraints, blackout coverings for the windows. Like, it was built to hide whatever went on down there. And next to it all was 51 knives. And not your typical cooking knives. No, these were military grade, combat style, tactical blades. We're talking hunting knives, machetes, serrated edges, the kind that you don't buy unless you plan on gutting something. Lock him up right now. They even find gas tanks, like more than one, which means that the fire wasn't some last minute panic. He planned this to the T. But while investigators are still processing this scene, more pieces of Sade are being found all around the city. I'm gonna spare you the gory details because I don't know if you're eating, but just know that they were found in ways that I don't even think you want to imagine. Oh, and I think what really got me was that before I did research on this case, I watched a video of him crying to the judge saying that he didn't do it. And at first, I'm like, oh, judge, he didn't do it. Y'all got the wrong man. But that was before I knew who he was. And now I know he for sure did this, and even his lawyers know he did it. Because look at the lawyer's face when Maxwell tells the judge it wasn't him. And in June of 2025, he is found guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. So basically, this man will never walk free again. But let's be honest here, that'll truly never be enough because Sade should be here. I truly hope prison is the worst place for you, Maxwell. Thank you for sitting through this one with me. I know it was really hard to hear, but I love you guys. Mwah, group hug.
That's so sad. She's
No,
so
it really is.
young,
And if
too.
you see, well, actually, you guys are gonna see it, but this man is so ugly. Like, I don't know if y'all remember the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds. You don't remember the villain? That's what he looks like. That's what he looks like. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna find the picture. I'm gonna put it up. But the villain.
You gotta watch them people. You gotta watch them people.
And she's such a beautiful girl.
Mhm. That is so sad.
And you should see him. He literally looks like the villain that he is.
I just
Scattered around her.
Like, look at him.
and look at her. And she's so young.
She's so young.
And she didn't even get to live out her life.
This is the youngest woman in America to ever be put on death row. Krista Pike. Wow, where do I even start? Krista was born with severe brain damage because her mother was drinking pretty heavily throughout her entire pregnancy, and Krista had a terrible childhood. I'm not even gonna lie. Her parents were neglectful and abusive. Krista was often bounced around from mom's house, dad's house, grandparents' house, and they all sucked. By the time that Krista was 15 years old, she had been essayed by multiple men, and this abuse started as early as when Krista was 2 years old, and one of these men even included their dog in the essay of 12-year-old Krista. By the time that Krista was 18 years old, she was a high school dropout. She spent some time in juvie, but she said that she wanted to turn her life around, so she joined Job Corps. If you're not familiar with what this was a government-funded program where troubled teens and early adults could live on this campus all together. They would finish their education, learn skills, so hopefully one day they could have a great career. But only after a few days on campus, Krista met 17-year-old Tadaryl Shipp, and they started this relationship. It was extremely toxic. Tadaryl was really into a lot of really weird, dark, creepy things, and this toxic, abusive relationship that they had completely distracted them from what they went to Job Corps to do, which was better their lives. Krista also started this feud, you could say, with another girl on campus, 19-year-old Colleen Schlemmer. Colleen was at Job Corps for all the right reasons. She really did want to better her life and have a great career one day with computers. That was her dream. But Colleen was sucked into this petty teenage drama by Krista. Krista was convinced that Colleen wanted her man Tadaryl and that Colleen was obsessed with her man. But if anyone in this case is obsessed with anyone, Krista was obsessed with Colleen. She was always talking about her, how much she hated her. She was pretty much stalking her around campus, threatening her and bullying her all the time. And then one day in January of 1999, Krista goes up to Colleen and asks if they want to call a truce, and asked her if she actually wanted to hang out that night, kind of like a peace offering. So that night, 18-year-old Krista, her boyfriend, 17-year-old Tadaryl, and their friend, 18-year-old Shadola Peterson, all lured 19-year-old Colleen off of campus, and then once they were alone in this creepy part of the woods that was like off of a park, Tadaryl and Crystal attacked Colleen while Shadola kind of stood back and was used as a lookout. This attack on Colleen lasted over 45 minutes and it was brutal. They were kicking her, beating her. They used a sharp weapon on her 300 times, and then they were dropping these big cement blocks on her until Colleen's skull was completely fractured. Krista even took a piece of the skull back to campus with her and was showing people and bragging to anyone that would listen about what she had just done. Krista has just unalived Colleen over jealousy over a boy, Tadaryl, that Krista had only known for 3 months. This was all over a 3-month-long relationship. And for some reason, all of these kids on campus that Krista is bragging to that she just unalived Colleen did not tell anyone until Colleen's body was found 2 days later. In police custody, all 3 of them were arrested, obviously, and they all made full confessions. And Krista was smiling the entire time, like she was totally pleased with herself. Since Shadola didn't actually have any physical involvement, technically, in the unaliving of Colleen, she walked away with only probation. Tadaryl, who was only 17 years old at the time, was sentenced to life in prison with possibility of parole in 2026, which is not that long away, but personally, I don't think there's any chance that they will let him out. And Krista, who was only 18 years old when she unalived Colleen, tried to blame her actions on her bad childhood. We hear that all the time. She was sentenced to death row and was the youngest woman in America to ever be sentenced to death. And Krista, who to this day has never shown any emotion or remorse for Colleen and Colleen's family, cried. She cried a lot. She bawled her eyes out when she found out that she was going to be sentenced to death. Krista also said that she did not think that she deserved to die, but Colleen did. Because you were insecure about your 3-month-long relationship, like, girl, please. And to only further prove how heartless Krista is, only a few days after she was sentenced, she sent Tadaryl this letter. I'll put part of it on the screen now so you can pause and read it.
I miss you so much. You see what I get for trying to be nice to the hoe. Oh. I went ahead and bashed her brains out so she'd die quickly instead of letting her bleed to death and suffer more. And they fucking fry me? Ain't that some shit?
That's wild.
But it's disgusting, and you will see. There is not an official date set to unalive Krista, but there's been a lot of talk recently to actually set a date since this happened all the way back in 1995. So if you want updates on that, you can always follow me. I'm constantly updating on the cases that we cover. There has been some controversy. Some people believe that Krista at 18 years old was too young for her sentence, also considering that Tadaryl was 17. So, you know, a year, actually only a few months younger than Krista. They received life in prison versus, you know, the death penalty. So why is 17 so different than 18? You can let me know what you think about that. Personally, I think that Krista is exactly where she should be. But that's completely my opinion, and I'm open to read all of your guys' opinions in the comments. I'm always reading my comments that you guys leave me. You guys always make up a lot of good points. You guys always have a lot of good, you know, points, thoughts, theories, questions, comments. So I love to read your guys' comments. So definitely let me know all your thoughts about this case, all of your opinions, and let me know what case you want to see me cover next. And I love you guys so much, and I'll see you tomorrow.
No, that's crazy. She's right. I agree. She's exactly where she needed to be. A cement block? Then you're taking around her skull to show people?
When the story started off,
Stabbing her?
when the story started off, like, she was born with brain damage because her mom kept drinking alcohol, I knew it was gonna be crazy. I knew. And second of all, like, who is named Tadaryl? who is named Tadero? You murdered a girl over Tadero.
Over a Tadero, yes. Okay, guys. Last one.
This brother and sister are the youngest children to be convicted for first-degree murder in the United States. The story of Catherine and Curtis Jones is very controversial and heartbreaking all around. Catherine is the older sister, and her brother Curtis was born only a year later. Their father was very abusive towards their mother. It was very violent, very terrible. When their mother was pregnant with Catherine, their father's abuse was so bad it actually led to their mother's uterus tearing and Catherine having to be born prematurely. When Catherine and Curtis were only toddlers, their mom left their father, so she was luckily able to flee her abuser, but she had to abandon her two children in the process, so she left them with this abusive man. And afterwards, a male relative of their father moved in with them, and this relative began to essay 5-year-old Catherine nearly every day for years. When she tried to tell her father of the abuse, he said he didn't believe her, but her younger brother Curtis told Catherine that he believed her because he was also being abused by this relative. Over the next handful of years, CPS would be called at least 3 times to investigate the accusations that the Jones siblings were being physically abused as well as being essayed, and every single time their father pretty much defended his relative and claimed that his 2 children were liars. Even after the CPS agents uncovered that this unnamed male relative had a history of essaying children, he was a registered essay offender and previously was even accused of essaying his girlfriend's daughter when he was living with her, the father still would defend him, and every single time the CPS investigations were dropped. The system that is meant to protect children has failed Catherine and Curtis time and time again, and their own father and mother have failed them as well. By 1999, 3 adults were living with the Jones siblings, their monster relative, their father, and their father's 29-year-old girlfriend named Sonia Spites, who allegedly also saw the abuse but did nothing. In 1999, Catherine was 13 years old and Curtis was 12 years old, and they've been abused by their relative since they were 4 and 5 years old. They were at their breaking point. Catherine told her younger brother that she wanted to kill all the adults that were hurting them and letting this abuse to go on, as well as, of course, kill their abuser. And for whatever reason, they decided to go after their father's girlfriend first. On January 6, 1999, 13-year-old Catherine and 12-year-old Curtis went and grabbed their father's weapon, while their father's girlfriend Sonia sat and did a puzzle at the kitchen table. They both opened fire on her, and at one point Sonia actually tried to get up and grab the phone for help, but Catherine took it away from her. And once their father's girlfriend was dead, both the children began to panic because now this was real. Catherine tried to clean both their fingerprints off of the weapon, and then she called 911 to report that there was an accident, and then both children fled the home. Catherine and Curtis were caught and arrested early the next morning, and they were arrested on charges of first-degree murder, and they were going to be tried as adults, making them the youngest children to be tried as adults for first-degree murder in the United States. Once they were arrested, both siblings tried to take full responsibility and claimed that the other one had no involvement. They were trying to protect each other. 13-year-old Catherine was even offered a plea deal to testify against her younger brother, but she refused. Ultimately, both Catherine and Curtis were sentenced to 18 years in an adult prison. And then after their release, they would be on probation for the rest of their lives. And they're 12 and 13 years old and going to adult prison. Both of them said that they felt safer in prison than back home with their abuser. Due to Catherine's young age, the adult female prison that she was being sent to was worried about her safety, so they forced Catherine, at 13 years old, to spend the first 3 years of her sentence in solitary confinement, which is seen as like torture to full-grown, fully formed adults. And that's how she spent 13 to 16 years old, completely alone in dark, solitary confinement. And public opinion on the Jones siblings were completely split. There were people in 1999 that saw these children as cold-blooded monsters, and then there were other people that saw them as traumatized children that the system completely failed. And that it was very unfair that these children were being tried and sentenced as adults, having to spend their sentences in adult prison. And there's a lot of people that believe that it possibly would have gone a little bit different if they had been white. In 2016, Catherine was released from prison at age 30. She is now married, she's a mom herself, and she's a huge advocate and voice for victims and for fair sentencing for juvenile offenders. And her younger brother, Curtis, was released the following year, also at age 30, and he is now an ordained minister. So it seems like both of them have been rehabilitated and are trying to live better lives. We've talked about child killers before, and it's always an interesting conversation in the comments about if you think child killers can be rehabilitated. Do you think that juveniles should ever be tried and sentenced as adults, or is it a case-by-case basis? Let me know all your thoughts on this in the comments. Let me know what case you want to see me cover next, and I will see you guys next time.
No, it's a case-by-case basis because some child killers are sociopaths and psychopaths. But in this case, it was self-defense.
That was so messed up.
Yeah.
Not only did they get put into prison, solitary confinement,
And I do think that if they were palm-colored children, that things would have ended out like differently for them.
yeah, they
Like-
definitely would have gotten more sympathy.
That's insane. That's
And
insane.
CPS too. Like, how?
Went to the house more than once and still didn't take those kids away.
And then the mother, you left them.
Every single adult failed them. And it's crazy because, like, even after all that, they still grew up to become adults with, like, full
The fact
lives.
that she was even smiling.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Well, guys, that's all we have for you today.
I feel like this episode was kind of dark.
It was, but that's what happens with true crime. It's true crime. It's scary, it's shocking. It's dark. But yeah,
Thanks for watching, guys.
let us know your comments, your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll see you in the next video.
Bye.
Bye.